Much like Queen and their music, the recent film biography of the band seems to be misunderstood by critics. Bohemian Rhapsody is well cast and well acted. There are moments when you will forget you are watching actors and think you are watching the real Queen. Considering how talented and unique this band was, that is quite an accomplishment. Rami Malek does a wonderful job of embodying Freddie Mercury. This is no easy feat, and Malek shows throughout the film that he is up to the challenge. The on-stage reenactments are of particular note. These moments are the most familiar to audiences and will therefore be under the most scrutiny. Fortunately, these are some of the strongest scenes in the film. Malek handles the private scenes as Freddie exceptionally well too. These are the moments that Freddie didn't share publicly, so we have to accept them as fact. Because Malek's interpretation of Freddie is as a real person and not as a caricature, we can make this leap as an audience. Queen was, of course, more than just Freddie. It was an ensemble consisting of 4 gifted musicians. The other 3 band members of Queen are well represented here. Gwilym Lee looks and sounds so much like Brian May that it's uncanny. His portrayal goes beyond resemblance, and he will convince you that you are actually watching the legendary guitarist. Ben Hardy isn't as much of a dead ringer for Roger Taylor, but his character is exceptional and provides a firm counterpoint to Malek's Freddie. It was often Roger who would openly disagree with Freddie on artistic choices. This rivalry would push both to explore new directions with the music. Probably the most revelatory characterization for me was Joseph Mazzello's John Deacon. I always felt that Deacon was the most underrated of the quartet. This may have been due to his quiet, unassuming presence in Queen's videos and concerts. However, if the story here is to be believed, he actually had a rather wry, sarcastic wit that he didn't hesitate to use when the opportunity arose. More than once in the film, his clever one-liners would diffuse the tension and frustration associated with the art of making music. As an audience member, I really wanted to see more of these 3 characters. However, much like what happened with Queen itself, the film focuses most of its attention on Freddie. Since Brian May and Roger Taylor were heavily involved in the production of the film, I can only assume that this is what they wanted the focus to be. Therefore, Freddie's journey becomes the narrative core of this story. Freddie's life was a paradox. Despite being surrounded by people, he lived a relatively solitary existence. While loved by millions across the globe, he struggled with love in his personal life. Almost always a somber situation, watching Freddie endure isolation and heartbreak is at times truly tragic. Artists write what they know, and once you've seen the film, you'll notice new depth in the lyrics and melodies of Queen's songs. The film isn't perfect. While Malek's performance as Freddie is formidable, the makeup department made choices that, for me anyway, created distractions. Malek looks most like Freddie during the era when the band was recording A Night at the Opera. Freddie's look at this time included long hair and lavish costumes. These elements helped divert attention from the false teeth that Malek was forced to wear. While Freddie did have a larger palate due to extra incisors in the back of his mouth, his teeth never seemed as pronounced as the prosthetic that is used here. Also, the longer hair and flashy clothes camouflage Malek's slighter build and blue eyes. These are not hidden as well once Freddie cuts his hair and grows the iconic mustache. The direction of the film lacks a cohesive vision. Original director Bryan Singer was frequently absent from the set, and when present, reportedly clashed with both cast and crew. He left the project, and Dexter Fletcher was brought in to see it through to its completion. Perhaps due to this turmoil, the film seems to wander here and there, leaving the audience to fill in story elements. For instance, we never learn how John Deacon joined the band. He's just there one day. He was an integral part of the group and even built the amp that helps give Brian May's guitar its unique sound. His introduction to the band deserved inclusion in the story. The choice to leave this out was most likely made in order to keep the story moving. Probably the same reason that the film plays fast and loose with the real-life timeline of Queen's evolution. This leads to some confusion and also a feeling that some events are far too coincidental and convenient, basically adjusted to frame the story with Queen's legendary performance at Live Aid. That 20-minute set at Live Aid, meticulously recreated here, is considered by many to be the greatest live rock performance of all time. Unlike other concerts in the film, which were lit and filmed to look small and intimate, the Live Aid concert shows the scope of Queen's popularity as arena rockers. When the band steps out on the stage, we, as the audience, see the crowd from the perspective of the band. It is an awe-inspiring moment, and the film, like the band on that July day in 1985, delivers. Queen had no equal that day, and the film is able to translate the power of that moment. During the film, Freddie explains that a rhapsody is an epic poem. The film Bohemian Rhapsody is much like a poem itself, projecting situations and ideas to the audience and letting the viewers complete the imagery themselves. This is not unlike the music of Queen, which similarly chose to leave certain things unsaid. The band members actually point this out in the movie, declaring to a record executive that if you have to explain everything to the audience, your work is no longer art. Despite the fact that the film is uneven, it succeeds on many levels, not the least of which is that it will bring the music of Queen to future generations. That alone is reason enough for the film's existence. However, there is much more to enjoy here, and like a poem or a song, time and experience will enhance our understanding and appreciation of Freddie, Queen, and ultimately, this film.